Well, hello, youth ministry friends. My name is Tony. I'm from Youth Ministry Land, organization that strives to provide support for youth ministry people with rental events and workshops. I have a chance to share with you about how to crush the digital pivot. If you are anything like me, you are trying to figure out what does this fall look like, and more importantly, what does this winter look like when we can't gather outside anymore. So first, the truth. Nobody knows what is going to work this fall, so experimenting is going to be essential. Anybody who tells you they know exactly what's going to happen is probably trying to sell you something. So now is the time to experiment, to come up with things, and if whatever you're trying doesn't work, change it. Don't feel like you failed. Feel like you've learned something and be able to continue on. Zoom fatigue is a real thing. That's true. I don't know about you, but if I've been on a couple of Zoom meetings in a day, the last thing I want to do is stare at a computer screen. So we need to identify that what our students are feeling, we also feel. And then this is also true. The need for what we do, ministering to students, is deeply needed now. Students feel lonely and are looking for answers to big faith questions. And so just because it's hard doesn't mean that we can give up. Now is the time to lean in, and I'm guessing you're trying to figure that out if you're listening to a workshop like this. So, a couple of ideas before we go digital. First, try to meet outside in person as long as you can. I don't know what that looks like for your group meeting in the parking lot, but I know many of us are just trying to figure out how do we stay warm enough to meet in person as long as we can. Also, I really like this idea of relational canning, just like you would can goods for the winter. Spend time now in person with those important people, those key leaders, those students who are also leaders. As we still have time, try and preserve those relationships by investing in them now. And then start thinking about low contact winter fun outside. I don't know what that looks like for your group, if you can go sledding or something for an hour one afternoon, but what does low contact outside look like? Now would be the time to start thinking through those things. Okay, so moving more on to the digital world, I think contact work is going to be crucial in this time. What do I mean by contact work? I mean about going to where students are and spending time with them. And my question for you is, what does that look like digitally? Where are your students spending their digital time? Are they hanging out on playing Minecraft or Rocket League or Call of Duty? Like, where are they spending their time? Is it all on video games? Maybe students are on social media. I'm guessing if your students are anything like mine, they have been on TikTok and getting into the whole TikTok culture and trying to figure out where your students are online digitally so that you can engage with them. So now that students don't have to show up, some won't. So it's more important than ever that we figure out where they are and how we can engage with them. Maybe it's volunteering in a classroom, so you can help students that way. A digital classroom, that is. So where are they hanging out? Is it on TikTok? Is it on video games? Is it on Snapchat, Instagram? But just going to the space where students are to do what they call in Young Life, winning the right to be heard. If you show up, if you prove to me that you're invested in me, I will listen to some of the things that you have to share, especially around faith and the big life question stuff. So how can you earn that right to be heard? Well, show up constantly and take a good look at our parachurch friends. Study what they're doing. Read up on Young Life and Treehouse and Timber Bay and these ministries who are serving students who are outside of the church. I think we have a lot we can learn from them. Okay, how to have a fighting chance at your regular online meeting. I don't know that this is for sure going to work, but this will give you some of the best chances in my opinion. Think short. Brevity is key. content should be like YouTube videos, no longer than 10 minutes. That 3 to 8 minutes is when our brain is super engaged. A lot of studies have showed we have trouble paying attention past 7 minutes. So if you can't capture your big idea in 7 minutes, break it into smaller ideas. Maybe you don't have a one talk, maybe you have a series, but keep your content short and punchy. That's what people seem to have time for these days. So the human brain can maintain its attention for about 7 minutes. And then another thing is think small and intimate with high engagement. What does it look like to do small groups online where maybe it's just 4 or 5 students with an adult leader versus the big group function? Maybe it's time to give up on big group and just think small and content consuming. So my rule of thumb is if there's a second page of Zoom screens for me, which is right around kind of the 9 to 10 mark, it's too many. So I really like to try and keep it to be 4 screens or 9 screens in my small groups, just so everybody can see each other. Another thing that I think is good is teach your students how to turn off their cameras and turn off your own camera. We spend too much time looking at ourselves during these meetings that it can be distracting. So another idea we're gearing up for in the ministry that I run is we're going to do a mentor program where students are paired one-on-one. I know that's small, it's intimate, right? It's just a leader and a student. And of course, you've got to find ways to do that with whatever your church safety, sanctuary kind of policies are. But what would it look like to have a mentorship program where each student was paired with an adult who was just connecting with them a couple of times a month, be it text message and one online hangout or something like that? Like, there's a lot of ministry that can be done in just that kind of small and intimate setting. And then small groups. I'm trying to keep mine to 9 screens or less. That might mean I have a couple of siblings on the same screen, but 9 seems to be about how many I can keep track of at the same time. Okay, here's a kind of a crazy idea that's really different than what we've been doing in youth ministry. But what if you experiment with delivering your content outside of the meeting? So you've got a really killer talk you want to give, or you want to teach some kind of short Sunday school or confirmation lesson. What if you filmed yourself ahead of time and sent it out on Wednesday and had students watch it? That would be a way to keep it short, right? Then when you're meeting in person or online, it's all about the relational piece, the engagement piece, not about the content piece, right? Most students and adults have a lot of time right now to consume these things. What would it look like to provide it outside of your regular programming hours? And then I would consider, do you have a student in your youth ministry who's like a budding YouTuber or maybe a staff person who knows how to edit videos? Work with them. Make it kind of punchy. There's definitely a look to YouTube videos with the crazy fast zooms and the, kind of music and the hard cuts. Like, what if you worked with someone to make it feel like a YouTuber YouTube video? That could be kind of cool. And then another idea is drop off physical supplies that you'll use at your online meetings. If students get a little gift from you middle of the week, a bag with perhaps some supplies they'll need for the game or a candle to light during the spiritual time, like far more likely to be engaged if they have known that you have thought of them specifically during the week to drop something off. Okay, let them turn off their cameras. Interesting enough, as students, especially students, but really everyone, has some kind of self-esteem stuff going on. And if they have to look at themselves, they spend so much more time focused on them. So we've found that if we've played games that don't require students to have their cameras on, where they can just talk, far more engaging and have been willing to stay on and play far more games than normal, which I think is really interesting. So think about that, is what would it look like to lead your whole programming if you couldn't see them but only hear them? I always find it's helpful to invite students to put away distractions, whatever that might look like. Turn off your phone, flip down your laptop or go into a space that's a little bit more quiet, so that they know that they have permission to do that, because sometimes we forget about that stuff, and a nice reminder of, okay, yeah, I want to be here. I want to invest for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour can really make a difference. And then another thing that will give you a fighting chance is clear and concise communication with parents. Parents are your allies in this. They want their students to be involved. They are worried about both the spiritual and mental health of their students right now. So just communicating with them when things are going to be, expectations, and keep it short and concise so they can easily read it. No one loves getting a 3-page email. So concise, concise, concise. Okay, Zoom settings to master. These will help your Zoom meetings go better. Figure out how to share your screen, and so that you're able to share games, videos, presentations, anything like that is super important. Also, I have seen virtual backgrounds become a huge distraction in youth group meetings, so if you can figure out how to turn those off, depending on your group, that might provide a less of a distraction. Also, for sure, you want to disable annotations and whiteboard, so that students aren't drawing on your presentation in the middle of it. I've definitely seen some rather distracting things, as you can imagine, show up in presentations that weren't disabled with middle school students. Also, this being said, is if you're like, I don't know how to do this, Google it. Just Google, how do I disable a background in Zoom or Google Hangouts or whatever platform you're using. It will guarantee pull up a YouTube video that will show you exactly how to do it. You want to be able to know how to mute everyone, so if things get out of hand, you can mute things quickly. Also, playing music. Super helpful to creating atmosphere. If you share your screen, make sure you can click the share sound button so that you can share music. Positioning of your camera. A lot of laptops give pretty unflattering positions. The looking up like this, no one cares about the bottom of your chin. It's not flattering. So figure out maybe how to get your camera a little bit higher so it's straight on so you can look at it. That can be good. Maybe you buy another webcam to put on the top of your computer so it's a little bit more high quality than the standard one that comes with your laptop. Those things can just increase the quality. Always try and look at the camera instead of your computer screen. The camera is usually a little bit higher, but it feels more intimate and connected if you can stare right into that computer lens or that webcam lens versus staring at the text that you're reading. A good webcam can make you pop, make you look shiny, make you look a little sharper in focus, make your meeting a little bit more high quality. I would say ditch the headset. Instead, try and get either like earbuds that you can run behind you with a microphone, or something, a microphone you can put on the desk, like a Blues Yeti microphone, something like that. You'll sound a little bit better, but also it won't look like you're, in the 1970s call center. And I know that's really a gamer look right now, but I think as a leader of a meeting, it's helpful to not have big old headsets on. Also, if you have bad internet, try running a line right into your router, like an Ethernet cord. You might need to get an adapter for your laptop or computer to be able to do that. But what will kill momentum in your meeting is if you are really choppy. If you're breaking up all the time, that'll be hard. So either go to a place with good internet or run an Ethernet cable right into your computer. Okay, a few more settings to master. I always like to restart my computer before big events. Kind of clears out the cache and just make sure your machine is running tip-top for those big things that you're doing. Be charismatic on camera. Try not to be nervous. Be excited. You might hate this, but on the camera, you should look like you love it. That will help convince students that this is a place that you want them to be. And then I think learning how to use polls, reactions, raising your hand, any of that stuff to create engagement, to make it not passive but active. So if you think about TV is a very passive thing, right? We sit down and we just kind of watch and there's nothing asked of us. This is different. We're not asking for passive. We're trying to create the most interactive things that we can, because passive we can't compete with. I don't know about you, but I don't have millions of dollars to create a high-level TV production. It's just me and a webcam. So where I can differentiate myself is break that fourth wall. How do I make this engaging? How do I make people feel connected? And one of those ways is polls. Okay, it could be a silly poll of, what food do you think is my favorite? And people put it on stage or put it in, and it's like, no, it's not lasagna, it's pizza. That's kind of fun. Or maybe it's a little bit more serious and it relates to the issue of faith that you're talking about that night. Also having people identify, like, does this make sense to you? Like, raise your hand if you feel this way at some times. Or teaching your people to clap or laugh. Breakout rooms are another great thing. Is like, if you need to break up the monotony, send people to breakout rooms for 10 minutes, give them an activity, a quick discussion question. Once again, trying to drive that engagement factor. One thing I missed is figuring out the mute piece of this. Is originally we were all great, like, let's mute everybody when I'm talking. But it feels so weird and quiet and dead without some actually like ambient noise of people laughing and talking. So I like to teach mic etiquette of, okay, leave your mics open, but don't eat in front of your microphone. Don't breathe really heavy in front of your microphone. But it's okay to leave it open because we want to hear people laughing, right? We want to hear people engaging with what we're talking about. So teaching etiquette versus muting everyone. Okay, how to spice up some of your Zoom stuff, some of your online stuff. There is a product that I just love. It's produced by Crowd Control Games, and they have two things. The first is ccg.buzz, free buzzer system, and there's a tutorial on how to use it, but you could have students buzz in so that you could call on them. And then they've got a product called Quiz Show, which is like Jeopardy that works with this buzzer system. So you can have students buzz in and try and answer questions. It's just brilliant. They talk a lot about it on their website and their blog. Check it out. I also love most of their products. Family Feud, I have found, works really great online too. And then something you can do to just like make it feel like a little bit of a high production is you can get a video template off of Video Hive if you have any video editing skills, like with Adobe After Effects or something. Or you could pay someone on Fiverr. And actually, I'll tell you what, if you send me your youth ministry logo, I will make you this identical thing I'm about to show you to just like beef up your meetings. This literally took me 3 minutes to throw together for a company that I did some work for called Tenet. Check this out. Dang, right? That looks good. We could put your youth ministry logo in that, or there's tons of bumpers that are easy to create. I would be happy to do that for you, my friends. Okay. If you are looking for good free content, or not free, but cheap content, download Youth Ministry, DYM. Has all sorts of social games that you can post in your stories, on your Instagram, some spiritual stuff as well. So you don't have to create everything. For $3, $4, $5, you can buy something to throw on your stories to play story charades or some kind of trivia thing. I've seen this happen more and more in the corporate sector, but people trying to spice up their online meetings by bringing someone in. A couple of fun things you could bring in. A magician. There are specifically magician Zoom people who will come in and do a magic show all on Zoom. Super interactive, super cool. Worth checking out for sure. Many people know that I'm involved in an escape room. We have an online escape room and an online game show, but it's just not me out there. There's lots of online escape room things you could bring in to do with your students. Also, I've started to see improv groups like Comedy Sports in the Twin Cities do online meetings. So perhaps bringing someone in on a Zoom call might be a little bit more affordable than bringing someone into your church because no one has to travel, and could spice up your meeting. We talked about that, teaching mic etiquette over muting. It's good to keep your mics live, if at all possible, to have some ambient noise. And then go live randomly and do fun things. You probably have Instagram Live or Facebook Live on your computer. Easy to just quick hop on and maybe give away a prize or just ramble. See who shows up. The algorithms love live video, so could be kind of fun. Just going live randomly, and people, even if they're not watching it live, are more likely to see it later. And then I think the best games are the super interactive ones where you're not just watching, but ones where you're waiting, or ones that you're not just watching or waiting for your turn for a long time, but are super interactive the whole time, where you never know exactly when it's your turn. Those are the ones that keep me high engaged. So as you're looking for games, as you're picking out games, what are ones that keep the whole team, the whole group involved, that you don't have to wait for your turn for very long? And then here's a fun idea, is have dress up youth group nights. Theme it. Maybe you have Island Night. Maybe you have a Halloween night where everyone wears their Halloween costumes. Maybe you have a Christmas night, but theme your meetings, your regular group hangouts, and see what students come up with. It's a great discussion piece. People can laugh, and it's a way for students to like get into it and be thinking about youth group before youth group. Okay, social media content. Wanted to give just a few ideas on how to create and think about content. One is, if you are creating content online, which you should be if your students are on a platform, I think you should probably be posting around 2 to 3 times a day on that platform. And that's not to say you can't take days off, but if you're thinking about like, how am I going to connect with my students, social media is a great place. And as you're creating content, you want to create things that are engaging. Questions work great. Funny statements work great. Being honest and authentic works great. But creating things that people will like and comment on is super important for the algorithm. The other thing about that is you don't want to just create, you want to comment. You want to create community. Community isn't just one person talking the whole time, right? There's conversation. So if someone posts something, you should comment on it. You should like it. You should use it as a discussion point. So creating kind of fun things. And like I said, I think you want to post at least once most days. Also, embrace the story format that Snapchat introduced and now Facebook and Instagram are doing. That seems to be the trend. So short little stories about what's going on in your day that disappear after a while. Okay, so the other thing you can do with social media is create posts that disrupt. Someone reads it and they're like, make you think kind of thing. Ask a question about the faith. Interesting idea. I don't know if this is a good idea, but what would happen if you asked a question about Jesus and how he would respond to a current event or a political action that's happened? It would start a discussion, right? And I'm not saying just like piss people off. That's not the point. But what does it look like to disrupt the normal thinking that students are having and making them think for a little bit? Although, whenever you disrupt, be ready for a little bit of hate. That's my only advice on that. And then what would it look like to do 1 to 2 minute little teachings, whatever your big concept idea is, and put them online for someone to digest? I think snackable is the key. 1, 2, 3 minutes, something that someone can adjust, especially if it's going to show up in a social media feed. If it's boring or has too long of a gap, people will move on to what's next. So really short and get to the idea quick. Okay, a couple of quick random thoughts for you that didn't really have another place to go. Instagram Live versus Zoom. One is more of a broadcast and one is more of an engagement tool. So figure out what meets your group's needs. Maybe experiment with both. But Instagram Live could be a good place for content delivery. I really like creating space for drop-ins. At my youth group, we had like drop-in night where you could just come and hang out. There wasn't necessarily a plan or agenda. What would it look like to do that online, to just have space where every Thursday from 3 to 5 you're going to be hanging out? Maybe it's on a Minecraft server. Maybe it's in a Zoom room where people can just hop in. You can chat. Maybe you have a few fun games in your back pocket, but something like that. And then I always say, look what other places are doing, other churches, but also other businesses and other places outside of ministry, and steal what they're doing, because oftentimes there's a lot of overlap. So if your spouse's business is bringing in a magician, maybe you should bring in a magician. I don't know, but that's a good place for some content idea generation. And if you're looking for a list of ideas or kind of how I come up with innovative things, you can go to my website, youthministryland.com, and I did a whole free workshop on innovation during the pandemic times. All right, that's it. I know it was short, friends, but I have to be true to my word that brevity is important in this day. Thank you so much. I hope that you crush the digital pivot this year. I know it's going to be hard, but it's going to be worth it. God continues to move and God continues to use us. So fight through the toughness, be innovative, be short, and let's continue to help connect students to Jesus Christ. If I can be helpful to you at all, my website is youthministryland.com. I do speaking, I do events, I do games, whatever might be helpful. If you want to have a free consultation with me, just like, I'm banging my head against the wall, what do I do? Be happy to have a virtual cup of coffee with you. My life was changed by a youth minister almost 20 years ago that just showed up in my life, cared about me, and had enough courage to share about Jesus. And it changed my life. And so know that the work you are doing is so important. There are so many Tonys out there that you are having an impact, that you are passing on faith to. So thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.